All right, today is lesson 1 of our new unit, Unit 6, which is statistics. So today we're going to talk about the measures of center. Measures of center describe the middle of a set of data. So there are 3 different measures of center that we use when we're looking at data. The first one is the mean. The mean is the average of a set of data. The way you find the average or the mean is by first adding all the numbers in the data set to get the sum, and then you take that sum and divide it by the number of values in the set. So if you look at this example over here, if our data set had 3, 7, 10, 8, 31, 10, and 2, we would add all of those together to get 71. And then divide by 7 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in our data set. We get an answer of 10 and 14 hundredths. To find the median, which is the middle number in a set of data, there are also 2 steps. Step 1 is to put the data in numerical order. We always go from lowest to highest. So you might get a set of data that looks like this to begin with 3, then 7, then 10, then 8. You need to put this in order. So the 2 comes first, then the 3, then the 7, to make sure it's in numerical order. Then you find the middle number. You do this by crossing off 1 on each side at a time. So how you would do that is you would cross off the lowest and the highest, then cross off the second lowest and second highest, and so on to get this middle number. So in this case, the median would be 8. You'll see a note down here that if there is an even amount of data values, there will be 2 middle values. So when you're crossing off, you would be left with 2 in the middle here. In that case, you need to find the mean of those 2 middle numbers to find the median. So then you would kind of go back to these steps, add the 2 numbers together, and divide by 2. We'll practice that in some of these problems. Mode is the number that appears most often. So that's another measure of center, finding the number that appears most often. This can be kind of tricky because there can be no mode or there can be more than one mode. In this set of data that we're working with, 10 is the mode because we see that number twice and no other number is listed twice. If 8 was also listed twice, we would have 2 modes, 10 and 8. If this 10 wasn't here, we would have no mode because all of the numbers are listed once. You can, I remember mode with the MO, most. Median, you see medians in the middle of the road separating the 2 sides of traffic. Mean, maybe you can remember average by the A in there. Just as a little trick, okay? So use this as we go through these problems as a reference if you need it. For each set of data that we're going to show you, you're going to have to find the mean, median, and mode. So number 1 says, the data shows the recorded high temperatures for 6 days in Chicago during December. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of data. So I am going to just start with the mean. For the mean, I'm going to add up all of my values. I'm going to do 35 plus 0 plus 22 plus 31 plus 17 plus 15 plus 8. So if you add those all into your calculator, you're going to get 128. Like I said, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. So I'm going to divide by 7. 128 divided by 7 equals 18.285. So that is my mean. I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth. I'm going to look at these numbers. My 8 tells me I'm going to round up. So my mean is 18.3. So the average temperature from these 6 days is 18.3 degrees, freezing cold. For the median, remember, I need to put these numbers in order from lowest to highest. So I have 0 And I'm going to cross them out as I go to make sure I get all of them. 0, 8, 15, 17, 22, 31, and then 35. Okay, remember to find, here, I'm going to label this so you know what I'm doing. To find the median, I'm looking for the middle of the set of data. So I'm going to cross off the lowest and the highest, then cross off second lowest, second highest, third lowest, third highest. I'm left with 17, so that is my median. For my mode, I'm looking for the number that occurs most often. If I look at my set of data, each number only occurs once, which means there is no mode. So I'm just going to write none. Remember, this is kind of like when we're finding parts of an expression. If there were no constants, for example, you have to write none. You cannot write 0, otherwise it would make it look like 0 is our mode. All right, for example 2, says the data set shows the scores that Emily bowled in her league over the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to start with my mean. I'm going to add up all my numbers in my data set first. If I plug those all into my calculator, my sum is 1,582. I need to divide by the number of numbers in my data set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And my answer is 158 and 2/10. So I'm going to record that down here where it says mean and move on to median. So remember, to find the median, you need to start by putting the numbers in numerical order. So it's a good idea to cross off the numbers as you go to make sure you have everything. For time's sake, I'm just going to record them and not cross them out. So I have 147, 150, 154, 154, 155, 155, 160, 165, 170, and 172. So remember, my second step then for finding the median is to cross off numbers on each end of the data set until I get to the middle. Lowest, highest, lowest, highest, lowest and highest, lowest, highest. So remember, we looked at the first page that said if you get 2 numbers in the middle, you need to find the mean of those 2 middle values. So I have 155 and 155 in the middle. This is kind of easy because they're both the same number, but how you would do this would be 155 plus 155, and then divide that by 2. Since it's the same number, you're just going to get the same number again, which is 155. Okay, and then we're going to look for our mode, which is the number that occurs most frequently. So I have 154 2 times, and I have 155 twice as well. Every other number only occurs once, so I actually have 2 modes, 154 and 155. Right, example 3. Anthony researched the average precipitation in several states. So these are recorded on a table instead of just lined up, so we need to take those values from the table. For the mean, remember, we are adding up all of those values. If I add up 158 plus 154 and so on, I'm going to get 389.7. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values in my data set. So I'm going to divide by 8 and get 48.7125. I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. My 1 tells me that my 7 is just going to remain the same. So my mean is 48.7. For my median, I need to take those values from the table and write them in numerical order. Again, you should be crossing them off as you go to make sure that you have recorded every value. For time's sake, I am just going to write them down in order. So we have 32.8, 42.2, 42.2, 48.9, 50.7, 54.5, 58.3, and 60.1. Another way we can check, you know you have 8 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? I am going to cross off on either end to try to find my middle value. Cross off lowest and highest, lowest, highest, lowest, highest. And again, just like example 2, I have 2 numbers left in the middle. So I have to find the mean by adding these 2 numbers together, 48.9 plus 50.7, and then I'm going to divide them by 2 because there's 2 values. And when I do that, I get 49.8. Okay, so that's my median. Right? For my mode, I'm going to look to see which value occurs the most often. Everything only occurs once except for 42.2. That occurs twice. So that is my mode. Right, go ahead and move on to the U try. It says the table to the right shows the number of monkeys at 12 different zoos. So go ahead and find the mean, median, and mode.